Hey, good morning. Sam Hayes here, one with Why with One Step. I wanted to do a quick live. I just got off my training class with the Forum on Forms from C.A.R. It's something that they are now doing a couple times a year. It's with the Forms Committee to go over what they are looking at, the upcoming changes predicted for, as we know, the new forms drop both in June and December. There's a couple of little tidbits on this one. They're saying it's not a big change, but potentially there might be, especially surrounding about the BRBC. We all know how that's an issue right now in the current contract. RPA 3G3, 18 and 19 both say, hey, buyer's affirming, my form is good, everything's good, escrow's going to get all the stuff, everybody can do the payment. They're now kind of looking at switching back to saying seller is paying this commission. But wait a minute, that's the whole point of the NAR settlement, was that buyer pays the buyer's agent, seller pays the seller's agent. And now this whole thing is where the buyer can ask for a concession for a credit to pay the commission. We just spent 6 months talking about it like that. What the hell? So this is going to be really interesting to see what they come up with. There's a whole issue where there's concern. Half these BRBCs are not even fully executed, or they're not complete, or they're incorrect. And if they're not correct, seller actually does not have to pay that credit. That's part of the reason why you most likely are working with myself or another TC. It's only for 3 months, not 90 days for the length of time. You have to call out, and you can only ask for as much as you ask for in that BRBC. That's the highest amount you're going to be able to get for your credit. So be careful. And if you got questions about it, I've got a couple of videos here. I'm always available to talk you through it. Take a look at a form, even if not the TC on the file. So that's a really big one to keep an eye out on. The other one is there's a new change to the Fire Hardening Defensible Space law. In July, we being the sellers producing these disclosures, sellers will now need to provide a list of low-cost fixes, options, how to get the property into compliance if it's not during the sale. Because as we know, it's not a point of sale requirement for the transfer. That can be transferred over to the buyer to be completed within 12 months. Any homeowner is supposed to always maintain the property within defensible space. That's for any property. And then fire hardening is for anything within the high fire zones. Also, make sure you're checking your maps. Remember, those were updated last month, that late March. I believe it was the 24th. So with all of that, we may have 2 new forms. They are incorporating this list now into the checkboxes that already nobody can understand or fill out correctly. So there's a lot of this that I'm going to be watching. I'm watching the drafts. I will have separate videos plus one giant video on all these new forms to walk everybody through. But be aware of that. There are more requirements coming, more disclosure requirements. Take a look at the properties. We all know how that plays into insurance concerns as it is on the buyer side. Everything that happened up in LA earlier this year, it's definitely a hot topic. Solar has also now been expanded. The solar disclosure that is required on any property transferring solar, even if it's leased, owned, doesn't matter. It is in the RPA. I believe it's an 11M that it calls that out. You're going to need to make sure that you're walking this through with your sellers. It is very detailed. We do need copies of those contracts, even if paid off. We need service bills. They're going to want to have SDG&E bills, all of that. So if you need to go through this or need somebody to walk you through how to get your listing set up, working on those disclosures, especially while we got a couple more days on market right now, it's a great time to keep your clients engaged by getting the listings done, getting the disclosures done, and making sure that we've got everything prepared and ready to go so you can better negotiate on behalf of your client because you know exactly what you're dealing with and where you're coming from. I am excited and going to look into more the SIPA. So that's going to be a seller property, or when they seller in possession addendum, that's going to, or advisory. I had a lot of caffeine. It was an 8 a.m. meeting. So what that is supposed to be, and I'm going to go through it more, is that it will advise regarding, that is a different relationship. As I have talked to many of my clients many, many times, once the transaction is closed, buyer and seller are done. We are now in a housing provider tenant situation, no matter how short term it is. And you as an agent are now becoming a de facto coordinator for that. You are now both a leasing agent and you've been a realtor. You have 2 pieces of involvement. Something to look into with your and your broker to make sure that they're aware of that. Also, this is going to kind of go through rental insurance. People forget sellers now need to shift that homeowner's insurance into rental insurance. They are no longer owners. That is a different type of insurance. We don't want to give anybody any reason not to provide coverage. I have seen terrible things happen. I remember one time years ago, One of my agents had a dual agency, and the day of close, to the point that we had to find out what time and hours of recording a water pipe burst. And we had to go into finding out who was responsible for it, who still owned the property during the water pipe burst, because everything happened right around the same time. I know everybody's like, oh, that'll never happen. You just asked it to happen in one of your deals. So be aware, it's always worth doing the extra diligence. That 5 minutes is going to protect you, your brokerage, your clients, everything, so we can make sure everybody's aware and we have a plan. Things happen. It's going to happen. Let's make sure you're taken care of. Let's see, what else did we have today on the forum class? They're now doing a new addendum general so that you can add that. So it's going to be an addendum general to your buyer broker or your listing agreement if you're adding anything, but then the MTLA and the MTBR if you're modifying. I'm still confused. We're going to find out a little bit more about that. That was a little bit messed up. The additional signer addendum has been expanded. I still think that's a terrible form. I definitely think you should go ahead, or I always do, is squish in signatures. I did 9 trustees one time on a file. We can make this work. I would much rather, if a file went to court, that I can show everybody saw that document. I always have concerns when a receipt is separate from the booklet or document or whatever, because I want proof that people actually saw those. I want to be able to have it all in my DocuSign envelope, so we all have the information of the envelope at the top, or I want to make sure that I have their signature on at least the first page of that document showing proof. Lawyers don't know our forms. Lawyers don't know how we do things. So when they're doing this and they're in court, I've got to be able to prove that they truly did see everything. And of course, my earring's going crazy in the process of all this. Anywho, those are some of the big ones that I saw that I have concerns about, and we will just go from there. I will have more, a little bit curated, planned out videos, but I wanted to get this shared while I had the energy, and just going to say, hey, there's some changes coming, and they're going to be entertaining this summer. So as always, stay tuned. Please like, follow, subscribe, share my videos anytime. Call me with any questions, 619-993-7264, and always verify with the broker of record of the file you are working on. I'm Sam Hayes. This was a quick pop-up of Why with One Stop, Forum on Forums. It's always an adventure. It's why I love this stuff. Have a great day, and thanks for joining me.